Hi, this is Jared from the G2 Gallery podcast. Today I'm interviewing Nolan, who is one of our Eastern Sierra Land Trust photographers. Thank you for coming in.
No problem. How you doing?
Not too bad, thanks. So let's start off right away by talking about where do you live in the Eastern Sierra area? Do you live in that?
Yeah, I currently I live in Bishop, California. It's right in the middle of the Owens Valley, kind of in between Lone Pine and Mammoth Lakes.
And then you lived there, and then you moved.
Yeah, I grew up in Bishop. I left for a couple years to go to Idaho for college, and then had a job offering with the Forest Service and came back as soon as I could.
So you went to college for photography?
I went for graphic design.
Okay. And where did you go?
Boise State.
Oh, okay, great. And so then when you went to Boise State, did you think, like, well, once I'm done here, I'm going to head back home in Bishop? Or
not necessarily. When you grow up in Bishop as a kid, you really just want to get out of there as soon as you can. And you have to leave for a period of time to realize what you left behind. And as soon as you do leave, all you want to do is come back.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's so many. I mean, you take for granted what's there.
Exactly.
So, did you photograph it a lot as a kid, or what? I mean, were you aware that this is something really special as a kid?
Not necessarily. I spent my entire childhood hiking, backpacking, fishing with my father, and really familiarized with myself with the area as a kid. But it wasn't until right before I started leaving to go to college, I got my first little point and shoot camera and just started taking that hiking and backpacking with me, and quickly realized the limitations of those cameras. And once I started with my first digital SLR, I just couldn't stop.
Yeah. So now you're so when did you begin photographing?
It was probably my senior year in high school is when I first started kind of tinkering around with it. I got really familiar with Galen Rowell's work growing up in Bishop and Ansel Adams, and went to a lot of the same areas that they had gone to and photographed, and started taking my point and shoot out, photographing it, and ran into a lot of those similar light situations that they're so famous for photographing, and realized I could do it too, and it just kind of grew as a passion, and I just took a camera with me everywhere I went from then on out.
Yeah. And so now you're shooting all the time.
Yeah, constantly.
So you were in college, and did you photograph in college then?
Yeah, I was pretty fortunate to be able to go and spend a lot of time in the Sawtooth Mountains up in Idaho, and I took quite a few trips up there, hiking and just car traveling, exploring the state. And really developed my skills, at a solid level when I was in Idaho, and I was able to bring all those skills back to the Sierra. I'd come back during Christmas break, spring break, any chance I could, and just took all those skills and started applying them to my hometown mountains. So.
Wow. So now you're photographing for the government, or who do you photograph?
Just myself.
Oh, just yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But you were so when you left college, or when you graduated college, you were brought back. You were offered a job by whom?
By the Forest Service.
Forest Service. And so what was the job? What was that job specifically?
Specifically, it was kind of my foot in the door job. It was a range technician, and I spent an entire season building fences for cattle allotments and repairing fences. There was quite a few fences that had gotten damaged or completely disappeared. And we had a big flood on Oak Creek out of Independence, so I had to rebuild that entire fence to maintain the allotment line. And then from then on, I moved on. Like I said, that was kind of my foot in the door with the Forest Service. I then got on a wilderness crew, was working in the Kern Plateau doing watershed restoration work, a lot of meadow restoration. And then I got moved on. I actually got to work in Bishop out of the White Mountain Station after that, and I've been on a wilderness trails crew working in the backcountry ever since.
And so now you're working in the backcountry. Like, what is that? What is like you said you're working in the backcountry ever since. Like, what is that?
Well, typically we go out for 9 days at a time.
Wow.
And we'll, hit a series of trails, and we'll maintain the trail or build the trail, do reroutes, cut out trees to make the trails accessible to everyone.
Wow. That takes a lot of pre-planning then.
Yeah, it does for sure. And you don't get to take a shower for 9 days, so that's always fun.
It's not like you felt terrible at the end.
Well, I don't like to brag.
So now so then you go out there, I mean, that's that's a massive thing to reroute trails. And I mean, where are you now in photographing? Like, what are you photographing at this moment? Like, what's your interest at the moment?
It's still just landscapes. Landscapes, especially Sierra landscapes, are my love. They're my heart. They're the only thing I want to photograph. I'll photograph any landscape as long as it's beautiful and I can get the right lighting conditions. But there's just something about the Sierra that I don't think I'll ever be able to stop.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming in and recording this podcast with us. This is Jared from the G2 Gallery podcast, and we'll have more podcasts coming to you. Thank you.